Testing, testing.
Testing, testing.
Hello everybody. Welcome to the launch of the Auslan videos in an exciting partnership between Expression Australia and Victoria Police. I'm Brent Phillips and I will be emceeing tonight. My role at Expression Australia is the Director of Language Partnerships and Innovation. It's been a great pleasure to oversee this project. It's been a while in the making, but it is exciting to finally launch and share these incredible resources for the deaf community. So tonight will be a very exciting launching event. We'll launch a series of videos and we'll have a panel interview, and we will meet some of the people who have been involved in the process of producing the videos. We'll also learn a bit about the story of behind the scenes and how the videos were produced. Before we commence formally, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land and their elders, past, present and future. I would also like to acknowledge those deaf community members in Victoria, in particular those who are the leading elders who advocated to create opportunities and inclusion and to break down barriers over the years. Without them, we would not be here. We're also thinking about our current and emerging young leaders, and some of them are in the room with us tonight. It is an extremely exciting and special time for the organisation and for the Victorian deaf community, as well as Victoria Police, and they've shown their commitment and willingness to provide the deaf community with access to critical information in terms of how to access and work with the police. We have times throughout our lives where we have to approach police officers, good reasons and bad reasons, and it's important that we do understand the key messages in terms of how to communicate with the police and to increase awareness amongst the police force around our unique needs in terms of our communication, needing interpreters, how to communicate until interpreters arrive. And I think this is the first project in Australia where we've created a series of videos for the community regarding the police, so it's very exciting. We'll have plenty of time to watch the videos and ask some questions. So if anyone here tonight or anyone watching from home has any questions or wants to make a comment, please feel free to share them, or if you're here in the room, come up onto the stage. Throughout the evening, we'd love to hear from you. So we'll watch the videos tonight. There'll be a Q&A session and then another video and then the panel, and then we'll close. So there's lots of opportunities for us to have great conversations and to learn and share about the journey. There are a few people I'd like to acknowledge because they have been key in this partnership over the last couple of years. And at the end, we will wrap up and then acknowledge those people. It was a team effort. There was not one or two people at either organisation working in isolation. It really was a fantastic partnership and had lots of people involved at different levels and at different times throughout the journey. If you want to know more about how we got to this journey, I will introduce two people who will do that. They were involved from day one. One is Maxine and Sasha. I'd like to invite Maxine and Sasha to the stage to share with us the journey.
Great, thank you very much, Brent. So are my positions where everybody can see me? Wonderful. I'm very pleased to be here tonight, and it's great to launch the series of videos, and it's very exciting, a fantastic process to be involved in. And I'd like to say hello to all those people watching at home, and hopefully you'll enjoy tonight's event as well. And if you do have any questions throughout, please do put them through. So first of all, just a little bit of background about the project and why we started doing this. So obviously Victoria Police had a commitment to work with different communities, disability groups, people of call backgrounds and so forth, and it really got the ball rolling with this process. So there was a report that was released a while ago known as the Beyond Doubt report, that some of you may have heard of, and that talked about people with disabilities and basically how they experienced crime and also reporting crime to police. And as an outcome from that report, there were a number of recommendations, and I believe that really started the conversation here about Expression Australia, at the time all known as VicDev, having that conversation with Victoria Police. And it's certainly interesting to know that this project did start a while ago. In its inception, there were a few conversations had, and then the ball really got rolling over time, and you can say it's been a long time in the making. So the process that we loosely followed, it was a very flexible process, as you can see with the slide up on the wall here. We had 7 steps that we proceeded with. So Expression Australia and Victoria Police first of all agreed upon an approach that we wished to take, so a co-design approach. And this didn't necessarily mean that we were given scripts by Victoria Police that we had to follow. We actually worked together in collaboration to create the scripts and look at the types of videos we wanted to produce and what they would be about, not just be instructed to do the work. So it was quite different from a lot of past projects we've been involved in. It was quite exciting for Sasha and I because it was a wonderful opportunity to fully embrace this and be involved in this collaboration. The second step was about how we consulted with the community. So Victoria Police brought in a lot of expertise around the Victoria Police processes, the legislation, various guidelines on how they work, but Expression Australia also brought along the expertise in terms of the deaf community, and that was simple for us to consult with the deaf community, get those members on board and ask for them for their contribution and feedback. We held various focus groups, and that was back in 2017, can you believe? And some of the questions we asked before the group sessions for the community to think about was, previously if deaf people had interactions with police, whether they instigated that or the police instigated the approach, how did they communicate with police? The second question we asked was that if deaf people attended a police station, how would they attempt to communicate? What are the things they'd need to consider to be able to communicate with a police officer? And the third question we asked prior to the focus groups was, as the deaf community, do the deaf community members feel that Victoria Police in general have a particular perspective or point of view on deaf people? And is it positive, negative, correct or incorrect? And we asked those members to consider those questions before they arrived at the focus group conversations. Within the focus groups, we had some of Victoria Police's documentation around how to work with people with disabilities, and they had already some fantastic fact sheets about deaf and hard of hearing individuals and Auslan, and that was quite surprising for Sasha and I to know that Victoria Police already had some of that information. So we were able to produce that to the people who were involved in the focus groups. And then we showed some videos that we discovered that were made internationally. So One was in New Zealand Sign Language, working with the police over there. There was a police officer producing a video in New Zealand Sign Language, and also a few videos that were released from the United States and I think also the UK. And there were different ways of explaining how emergency services or police in those countries can interact with deaf people. And then we asked the deaf members in those focus groups what their feedback was on the various videos, what their thoughts were, what they felt was missing, the gaps, and what they would like to see happen in a video that we were producing and what they'd like Victoria Police to know. From those focus groups, it gave us a particular approach to drive the project forward. And I think what I'll do is hand over to Sasha now and she can talk about the various steps that occurred afterwards.
So we had the focus groups and we had so much information that was shared with us, and the information from Victoria Police as well as feedback from the deaf community. So combined, we had something that was working in collaboration. So we would write some scripts and then we would show it to the police, they would approve it, and back and forth. And we thought that it was important that from the feedback is we wanted people who were acting out the scenarios and not just sharing information. We wanted to show what it would look like practically so that deaf people would know when they enter a police station what it looks like and what to do. So from that, we hired a deaf writer who had some experience with interactions with police and had writing experience, theatre experience, and knew what to compile to produce these videos. So we had 4 scripts ready and we filmed them. But the people who were filming, we didn't have a lot of experts from the deaf community because it's very rare that you have deaf community members who have that experience. So we needed to assemble the team of people that knew how to work in front of a camera and were familiar and comfortable in front of a camera. So we tried to recruit some deaf people for the process for the acting components, which we did. And you'll notice in the videos later that we have some direct-to-camera information sharing as well. As we pulled people in and explained how to work with a filming team. And then we went on site and filmed. We filmed at the Police Academy, and they have a fantastic location there. It's like there's fake shops and fake houses and there's roads, and it meant that we didn't have any interruptions from the community. There was control about the filming environment. Filming day was a massive day, and we had the team of 2 people who represented Victoria Police. We had 4 people who were on the filming crew. We had myself directing, and we had the cameramen, the lights, the lighting guys, the sound boom operators. And we had 2 deaf actors, 2 interpreters, 1 deaf consultant who was making sure that linguistically everything was happening how it should. And we had some police who stepped in as actors. So there was a whole cast of us, and for most of the group it was the first time in front of a camera. So we wanted to make sure everyone felt at ease and felt comfortable before we progressed. And we wanted to ensure that what we were filming was right, that we weren't making up anything. So there were eyes watching over the information to make sure that everything that was being presented was correct. It was a fantastic opportunity, and it was great to hear from people who were involved who shared their experiences and said that it was very positive. Over to you, Max.
I was saying before, it was fantastic to have some deaf actors be involved who perhaps didn't have any film experience, and were able to, I guess, coach them up and develop opportunities for those people prior to being ready on set. We also have some additional people some people might be familiar with Johnnie Beach. So Johnny's parents are actually deaf, and he actually was a police member previously, and at the time when he was involved in the filming, it was wonderful to have him because he grew up with Auslan as his first language, and he was able to combine his Victoria Police experience and his deaf experience. So it was a wonderful experience for Johnny. He'd never been filmed on video signing before, believe it or not, and we provided some coaching for Johnny as well from the deaf expert, just to ensure that he was comfortable in signing in front of the camera. And as Sasha mentioned before, we came up with the scripts, and there were 4 videos that we were focusing on. First of all, who are the police? Secondly, interactions with police. The third video, getting help from police. And the fourth was if you're arrested. So we worked a lot with Victoria Police, again negotiating the script and how that would work back and forth. I don't know how many versions we ended up with, but Michelle's here in the room from Victoria Police, and she's probably aware about the number of times we went back and forth negotiating scripts. I'm not sure how many times, how many different edits and versions and checks we did to ensure that it was all appropriate and accurate, but it was certainly a wonderful learning experience for us as a team here at Expression Australia, and probably Victoria Police as well, learning about how we need to get the message aimed appropriately for deaf community members.
So in the video, I spoke about the team. Well, before I was talking about the team and how most of the cast had no experience in filming in front of a camera. And I'm not too sure how many scenes there were. There may be about 9 scenes. And in those scenes, we had a deaf person who was trained up. But the police officer didn't have the same opportunity to be trained up. So in that scenario, we would say to the police officer, okay, how would you communicate with a deaf person in this scene? So if a deaf person approached you at the counter, how would you communicate with them? And I thought it was incredible how the police officers automatically knew how to communicate with the deaf actors. They would automatically start gesturing, or write with pen and paper, or they would point, or they would speak very clearly and concisely. Or they would write, can you lip read? No, okay, and would think of a different way to communicate. And it was great to see that. And there may be deaf people in the community who have a bit of anxiety around communicating with police, but from our experience, this is something that they did automatically without having any training. And now we have these video resources which are produced to ensure that police do have access, so the police force can know how to communicate if they do have interactions with deaf community members, and some of them may have had hesitations themselves. So the video is not just for the deaf community, but also for the Victorian Police Force, so that both sides can feel confident and comfortable when interacting with each other.
Just playing tag here. So as we talked before, we talked about the approval process with the scripts, and that occurred throughout. Previously, when we talked about the messaging, we looked at the 4 different types of videos we were producing. We were completely liaising throughout that whole entire process, and also with the editing process of the videos, we were constantly updating Victoria Police in terms of the videos, what we were producing and what they were comfortable with, and also the captioning. So working together to compromise with some of these issues, because as you can imagine, police and government legislation doesn't always necessarily fit in well with the deaf community's needs. So there was a lot of negotiation back and forth and compromise that needed to happen. So we do really appreciate the fact that Victoria Police was quite open to accepting our advice and feedback, and also we learnt a lot about what we could and couldn't do or say. And the last part of the process is probably the most important part, and that was really to share the videos and distribute them to ensure the community had access, not only to benefit deaf or hard of hearing individuals, but also Victoria Police and potentially other services such as emergency services, fire, SES, hospital services. There's so many other services out there that potentially could benefit from the videos we've produced as a learning opportunity. And Sasha and I were certainly impressed with, you know, thinking about people just stopping, thinking about how they would approach a particular situation without any fear, and then being able to communicate effectively. And we shared some of those posts on Facebook back then, and we got quite a positive response from that. And I think we're just about ready to share some videos.
Thanks, Max and Sasha. It's nice to give you a bit of an insight into the workings behind the scenes that are needed to produce a video, and not necessarily that easy when you're talking about two different languages and ensuring that you have the linguistic consultants and the experts on both sides to ensure we do justice to both languages, and in particular ensuring that we have the right level of Auslan to really suit our community. So my hat's off to everyone who worked on this project for all of these videos. Before we show you the first video, I would like to invite our colleague from the Victoria Police, Commander Stuart Bateson, who will speak from Victoria Police's perspective on the process. So welcome, Commander.
Thank you very much, Brent, for that warm welcome, and thanks for the opportunity to be here tonight to launch this really exciting project. I'd like to also acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to both elders past and present. It's really important, I think, that we acknowledge their continuing connection to country and this land, and I'm very thankful that we have permission to do our business here today on their land, so thank you. Okay, hope everyone can hear me. I'm going to go a little bit off script from my prepared speech, so I hope you don't mind. When we look at what we tried to achieve here, this is really important to Victoria Police. The trust and confidence of the community which we serve is something that we must work very hard to maintain. It's crucial to our legitimacy as an organisation. We know if the community doesn't trust us and doesn't have confidence in us, they're much less likely to report victimisation. They're much less likely to cooperate with us in our duties. It is absolutely crucial that we maintain that trust and confidence. For me, there's three parts to that. The first part, of course, is that we have to do our job. We have to prevent road trauma, investigate homicides, and do all the sorts of work that usually are made into TV shows. You know, that sort of work is important. We must do that work well. But there's other parts as well. And the second part is also crucial. In every interaction, we must treat people with dignity and respect. And the third part being that we must listen, value, understand and respond to the needs of our community. And of course our community is not just one. There are many communities that we serve. And the deaf community is one of those. So spending the time to actually work with expression deaf is just so crucial in producing these videos. The co-production values that we adopted was really beneficial for us because we leveraged off the expertise of people in the community and from the community. We listened and we understood and we hopefully developed something that is going to be quite useful. Yes, it did come initially from recommendations from the Verioc report, and we know that. But it also is an essential part of what we do as Victoria Police. We know that if our services are not accessible, that people are very reluctant to report their own victimisation. Our police stations must be accessible, our services must be accessible. And we hope these videos give that opportunity for that to at least make them a little bit more accessible than they have been previously. We've also, as part of the recommendations since the Beyond Doubt report, we've developed 7 easy English resources, including information on how to report crime, what is family violence and what do police do, and how to report a missing person is just some of those examples. Our commitment to communication accessibility is recognised as part of the ongoing responsibility under the State Disability Plan and in the next version of our Accessibility Action Plan, which we are just about due to release. The launch of the videos tonight complements our growing resources in an effort to make information on police processes and interaction with police accessible for everyone in our community. Thank you for the partnership that we developed. We will be continuing it way into the future, I am sure, as we develop more tools and work together closely to make sure that the services that we provide as Victoria Police are accessible to the deaf community. So thank you for the partnership. Thank you for all the work that you did putting these together. I'd like to acknowledge Michelle Wareham from Victoria Police, who's snuck in up the back. Thank you for your leadership, Michelle, and also everyone else that worked so hard on putting this video together. Danielle Fleeton is also here. Started with you as well, Danielle, so thank you from VicPol point of view. Olivia finished it off, so thank you, Olivia. But thank you to everyone who worked on it. They're a great resource, and I can't wait to get them out into the public so they can be used effectively. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stuart, for your very positive words. And from Expression Australia, we are very excited to work with you long term. I think there are so many opportunities for us to work collaboratively. Expression Australia now provide a lot of Auslan training to Victorian schools and kindergartens as part of our relationship with the Department of Education and Training. So from that, some of these kids may become members of the police force in the future, and they'll have a bit of Auslan and cultural awareness for the future. So it's also around how we can support the current workforce to ensure that they do feel confident in communicating with deaf and hard of hearing Victorians. So I agree it would be a very positive relationship. I don't want to keep you waiting for too much longer. We're very proud to launch the first video, and that is What is Police? So here it is for the first video.
Hi, my name is Johnnie Beach. My parents are deaf and I grew up signing. I've been a police member since 2016. Police believe that everyone in the community should feel safe. This includes the deaf community. Victoria Police and VicDeaf have worked together to make videos in Auslan about how to interact with police, what to do if you see something, and what to do if you're arrested. I hope these videos help you to understand about what the police do, so you feel comfortable to approach us if you need our assistance. We are committed to doing our best to work with you.
Victoria Police's job is to prevent crime and investigate when a crime has happened. It is also to protect the public. Sometimes people think that police are only there when you are in trouble, but actually, they are there to make sure you feel safe. You should feel comfortable approaching them. The role of the police covers many different duties. Helping the public in emergencies and serious incidents, working to prevent crime through a range of safety programs and providing information to the community, detecting and investigating crimes, and working with courts to make sure people who break the law are held responsible with punishment. Supervising people in police custody, like in jails and courthouses, supporting victims, and making sure people are treated fairly. And making sure people are safe on the streets. There are many different roles within Victoria Police. You can identify them by what they are wearing. Uniformed officers wear a dark blue uniform with blue and white checkers on their hat so that they are easily identified. These officers make up a majority of the police force. They are found at police stations, in police cars, and visible in public to deter crime and keep the community safe. Another role within the police force is a detective. They usually wear a suit. They investigate cases using information from interviewing of witnesses, victims, and suspects, and from evidence collected. There are also Protective Services Officers, PSOs, who look very similar to other police, except their uniform has blue and gold checkers instead of blue and white. There are two types of PSOs, for the Victorian train network and security of government buildings. Security PSOs work around government buildings such as courts and Parliament House, to protect the public and the public servants who work there. The other type of PSOs are based at train stations to make travelling on trains safer for all users. They help to reduce antisocial behaviour, damage to trains, alcohol and drug-related offences, and crimes against the public. Police custody officers wear a grey uniform and are located in police stations. Their role is to look after people in custody in police cells. Police officers in uniform, detectives and PSOs have the power to arrest and detain people if it is in the interest of public safety. This includes drunk and disorderly behaviour. They could also search people and property and seize items such as weapons or alcohol. Police also have the power to issue on-the-spot fines for graffiti offences, and in the interest of public safety, issue a direction to move on from an area. These videos will explain how to communicate with police and what to expect when you interact with them. Remember, they are here to protect your safety.
Great. Well, that's the first video, and wasn't it fantastic? It is an introduction into what the police force, who the police force consists of, the different roles and responsibilities, and it's great for the deaf community to understand exactly what is police. So before we move on to the next video, I'm very excited to invite one of our famous actors from these series of videos, Tran, to share a bit of his experience of the process. Tony's going to be a star in these videos. So come over here, Tony.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You were involved in this project and in the filming process, so it's great for us to hear a bit about your experience. We have a couple of questions that we're going to ask you, and we'd love for you to share your experience working with the police and in the filming environment.
Well, really, it was my first acting role, having this experience, and it was an amazing experience, absolutely fantastic. Also, I guess being down there at the police academy, that was an entirely new experience. It was awe-inspiring at the same time. I'd never been to the police academy and experienced dealing with police members at all. Being in the room, working with the professional crew, they were highly professional, working with lighting guys, sound guys. I'd never actually experienced that before, and that was pretty incredible. And I really just want to say thank you to Victoria Police for giving me that opportunity to be able to train in the police environment at the academy, but also to see what they do as part of their training.
It's fantastic. And so you were in a few different scenes in these videos. Did you learn anything new about the police force that you weren't aware of in terms of their processes through filming?
Yeah, so as I said before, I've never had dealings with the police, maybe just very vaguely passing them in the street, but it was an entirely new experience for me. So being part of the film set, can I just check where we're up to? Thinking about that example, working with Victoria Police. Sorry, I've forgotten the question, Brent. Can you repeat that again?
No, that's okay. Did you learn anything new from the process and how they do arrests or how they work with people? Did you learn anything like that through the process in terms of procedures that they may have with the community?
Yep, got that. So prior to that, I'd not had a lot of experience. It was a new experience for me. And working there with the film crew, through those interactions, I guess I learnt about how the police interact with the public, and I really learnt about police protocol and procedures, which I'd not experienced before. And I was going to ask before, yeah, that's right. So for deaf people, I was thinking about being arrested. So particularly for deaf people, it's not uncommon to hear stories about deaf people getting quite agitated because they can't communicate with the police, and the issue with being handcuffed. So as you'd be aware, for a deaf person being handcuffed, that's similar to being gagged if you could actually communicate using spoken language.
Yes, I'm sure that in the deaf community, there's a lot of talk around being handcuffed and taking away your right to communicate because you can't sign. So there's a lot of anxiety in the deaf community around that. And if you went through that experience, or if you had to go through that experience, these videos will show you what that may be like in the future. And I just want to let you know, Tony is not a naughty member of the community. He is a very professional man. He does not appear to be professional in these videos. He's quite the criminal.
Great,
Is there
thanks
anything
for
you'd like
that.
to add?
No, that's all. Thanks, Brent. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Tony. So well done, Tony. Thank you. So we'll now show you the second video. This video is entitled How to Receive Assistance from Police. And I would like to remind those who are watching at home, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share that in the comments section and we will answer them later. So without further ado, here's the second video.
You may know about contacting police in an emergency. But what is an emergency? Is your life at risk? Has your house been broken into? Or has your car been stolen? Have you just seen a serious accident or crime? If yes, then you should contact the police. The general number for emergency is 000, but if you are calling on a TTY, the number you dial is 106 and then you type PPP for police. You can use the National Relay Service to call 000. However, the relay officer may not know it's an emergency call. If it is not an emergency, it is better to go to a police station.
There are many reasons why you might go to a police station. We'll break them down into two groups: when you decide to attend by choice, or when you're required to do so by police. You may know to go to a police station if you've seen somebody commit a crime, committed a crime yourself, or been a victim of crime. But did you know that you can actually go to get documents signed, like a copy of your passport, or to sign a statutory declaration? This is a written statement that you declare to be true in front of an authorised witness. This could be to legally verify your name or to support sick leave if you did not go to the doctor. In this video, there will be reenactments of people attending a police station. The first is about a man who's had his car stolen.
Hi. Alright, bear with me 1 minute. Are you saying your car is lost or stolen? Ah, stolen, I see. Have you got an ID, driver's licence?
When you visit a police station, always go to the front counter if you need help. There may not be anybody at the front counter, but they'll know you're there. The police will come out and they'll assist you when they're free. If you're sitting in the waiting area or just reading information on the notice boards, the police will not come out to assist. When a police officer comes to you from the other side of the counter, make sure you let them know that you're deaf or hard of hearing. The police officer might ask you to wait until they locate the most appropriate police member to help. If you're hard of hearing, some police stations may have hearing loops installed. Make sure you ask if this is available.
Good morning, how can I help you? Okay, no worries. Okay, 1 second. Okay.
If you need an interpreter to be present, it may take a while for one to arrive. If it's not urgent, you may have to wait or be asked to come back another time when an interpreter is available.
Hey, how are you? Oh, okay. Can you write? No. Okay. Just take a seat for me. Thanks.
If you decide to bring somebody with you to the police station to make a report, make sure that the person is not involved in the incident, that they were not a witness or a suspect. If you wish to talk about a serious matter with police, ask for a private room.
I'll type up a statement, have you sign it, and it may be used as evidence.
That's fine.
Okay. Can you tell me what happened?
Well, my neighbour's been complaining, saying that my dog's been barking. And now they're throwing things over the fence, and I'm worried that my dog may be injured.
If you witness a crime or have been victim of a crime, you might go to a police station. Police may want to take a statement, which means getting your version of events about what had happened. A statement can be taken straight away or later on. Some statements are taken by VER, which is a video and audio recording of evidence. This means that the statement will be video recorded and potentially used in court. If you have a cognitive impairment, you can also have an independent third person. When police ask you for a statement, you'll be asked to tell them your name, your address, and the police will ask questions about what happened. You do not have to make a statement, this is your choice. When you finish giving your statement, then you'll need to read it and sign it. If English is your second language, you can request an interpreter reinterpret your statement for you, and then you can sign the document afterwards. The police will also give you their contact details and information about the investigation process and what happens next. You can ask the police for information if it's not provided.
So here's a copy of your statement for you to keep. We'll be in contact once we've investigated.
Okay.
In deaf culture, it is normal to tap someone on the shoulder to get their attention. However, with police, it is best to make eye contact and then let them know that you're deaf. You can mime this, write it on paper, or type it into your phone, and even show them the I am deaf card that provides details on how to book an interpreter.
Okay. You've seen a collision. Did you get the car's registration? TGI, but not the numbers. Yep. Okay, which way was it going? Was it that way or that way? And was it travelling slowly or fast?
Police may also approach you to ask about an incident that you may have seen. Police can ask for your name and address. You must give these details. However, you are allowed to ask them to say or write down their name and rank and place of duty. Remember, it is important that you understand what is happening.
Fantastic. Before we move on to the third video in the series, I have been looking online and there's been lots of people who are watching and posting comments. We have people from Singapore, from Townsville, and these are Victorian-based videos, but it's great to see the interest out there. One question that has been posted is, what is Auslan? And so we'll share that with you. Auslan is the language of the Australian deaf community. Auslan is an abbreviation for Australian Sign Language, and it's recognised by the federal government as a community language, and that was done in 1991 or thereabouts. There are thousands of Australians who use Auslan, as well as their families, friends, neighbours, work colleagues, and within schools. It's very fast growing, the uptake of Auslan, and it's the 5th most taught language in Victorian schools. Auslan is unique to Australia. It is not a universal sign language. America has their own American Sign Language. In England, they have British Sign Language. And a lot of our signs are borrowed, but have changed over the last few years. We will now share with you the third video, and then we will have our panel discussion, and we'll have a Q&A from online as well as from those who are in the room with us. So here is the third video, Interacting with Police.
In this video, you will see examples of how to approach police or being approached by police members, such as being pulled over by a police officer or somebody in the street who requires assistance. These videos are reenactments.
Hi, ma'am. How you going? Thank you.
If travelling in your car and you see police lights indicating for you to pull over as soon as it is safe to do so. Stay in your car, do not get out and turn off your vehicle. When the officer approaches, gesture that you are deaf and show the officer how to best communicate with you. This could be handwritten notes, lip reading, with the right lighting, or gesturing. Usually they'll ask to see your licence and tell you why you are being pulled over. An interpreter probably will not be called for a small problem like this, but it is important that you understand what's happening. You may have had your breath tested for alcohol at a booze bus before. This may also happen if you are pulled over by the police. This is normal procedure. You'll need to blow one long breath until the machine has had enough to test, and the officer will tell you when it is time to stop.
On one of these before? Okay. So in this straw, yeah. Thank you.
And that's yours. Thank you.
If you have your full licence and have a blood alcohol reading of 0.05 or over, you're not allowed to drive. If you're on your L or P licence, you cannot have any alcohol and drive, and you must be 0.00. If you're over the limit, you'll be asked to go with the police to either the booze bus or the station for more testing and questions.
Excuse me, sir. Sir. Excuse me. Sir. I've just watched you drop that packet of chips. Well, would you be able to pick up your rubbish, find a bin and put it in the bin? Thank you. Ta. All right. Thank you.
Police are also out in public. They often attend large public events like New Year's Eve in the city, the AFL Grand Final parade, and just every day ensuring that people are safe. In deaf culture, it is normal to tap someone on the shoulder to get their attention. However, with police, it is best to make eye contact and then let them know that you're deaf. You can mime this, write it on paper, or type it into your phone, and even show them the I am deaf card that provides details on how to book an interpreter. You can ask for an Auslan interpreter, however this will take some time for an interpreter to be available, and interpreters usually won't be called in for small conversations. Police may approach you if they think you are committing a crime or have committed a crime. For minor crimes such as riding a bike without a helmet or being drunk in public, they may ask you some questions and you may be issued with a ticket or a fine and asked to move on. For more serious crimes, it is possible that you will be arrested and taken to a police station. You can ask as many questions as you like, and you have the right to understand the purpose of the interview and why you're there. This procedure is covered in another video.
Fantastic. So that's 3 of the videos, and we'll show you another one at the end. But we thought it's a great opportunity to invite some people to sit on the panel so we can have a Q&A session and we can ask questions about their experience, the videos, or anything in relation to policing or the deaf community. We have some questions from people watching from home that will also be answered. So I'd like to invite again Commander Stuart Bateson, Sergeant Amanda Bowden, Tony Tran, and Sasha Dalton. So I might ask the first question and then we'll go from there. And I would like to ask the members of our police force, what did you learn from working on this project about the deaf community, Auslan, and what did you learn that you would like to share with other police officers?
I think through this project, which has been, such a long time in the making, I think one of the great things to come out of it is a better understanding of the deaf community's needs and being able to actually not only talk and value the expertise of the community, but also to share that with our fellow police officers is a real plus. So for us, it was a fantastic experience to really sit down, understand what was required, and how we could go best about communicating that and making our services accessible.
Would you like to add anything to that?
I'll just add that I'm here as an operational police member, not as somebody who worked on the project, but having watched those videos, and I have seen them before, it really drives home to me how important it is for this work to be done and how important it is for us to be able to communicate with everybody in the community. I come from the transit safety divisions, working on the public transport system with the PSOs, the Protective Services Officers, and they're our front line talking to people in the community all the time. So for me, this is so important, this work, and everybody that's been involved, and it's just incredible.
Fantastic, thank you. Another question for Tony and Sasha. You've worked with the police on this project. Are they as scary as they thought you were, or are they nice and easy to get along with? Well, I would like to let everyone know that it's great to be aware if you are approached by a police officer to, rather than start signing at them or making people feel intimidated, because it can be quite overwhelming for someone who, even if they're a police officer, if they haven't been exposed to it before. So I think sometimes it's about just being sensitive to the situation. I have family members who are members of the police force, and I think it's a job that should be respected much more than it is. And quite often you see police in the community and they may look serious, and that's because they're working really hard. If you approach a police officer and you need to have an interaction with them, they are very friendly. And if they're focused on the task, they may not look like they're really happy in the moment. But if you approach them, of course, they're more than happy to interact with you. They are not scary at all. As well, just to let you all know, the police have their policies and procedures that they have to follow, and it can be, they follow the same procedures whether you're deaf or hearing or whatever the case may be. So the most important thing is to be patient. If you are arrested, try to just remain cool and calm, and that means that when they take you to the police station, they will provide an interpreter. I also believe that the police force, their aim is not to hurt you, and that's something that's really important to remember.
Thanks, Tony. I'm glad you didn't find us scary. I'm very pleased about that. But I think you make a really good point, and we sometimes our members lack the confidence when they're engaging with people from the deaf community. So be confident about what you need and how you're best to communicate with those police officers, because they're looking for some direction from you as well. So I encourage you to say, well, this is how this is going to go best, and you'll probably see a real sense of relief on the face of the police officer. You go, great, Now I know what we're going to do. We're going to be able to provide the services that that we can meet the needs of the community. So I think that's a really important point. We know, I guess, sometimes we forget how scary it is walking into a police station because we do it every day. So there's a challenge for us to make those interactions friendly all the time because, you know, it is hard for community members to walk into a police station. But likewise, sometimes our police members are going, oh, okay, well, what do I do here? They may look like they're in control because they've got a uniform on, but sometimes they're actually not, and they're thinking to themselves, all right, what next? How do I go? And if you can guide them and help them, that's incredibly powerful as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. They're great responses from everyone. We have a question from someone watching on live stream, and the question is, the first responder in the case of an accident or a fire, so the first responder, should they know Auslan? It's an open question for anyone on the panel. So the question is, should the first responder have as part of their role Auslan skills?
It's convenient timing that this is the question being asked. We are asking ourselves the same question. I think, speaking from a personal perspective, I can see that it would be really helpful to know at least a little bit of Auslan, and something for me, having had this experience, that I'll take away is to go and do that for myself. And I think that's something that's really important. Moving forward with Expression Australia, there is some work to be done, and I can see that, again, there's some potential for us to move forward in that space as well. So yes, the question is really valid, and I think that there is so much potential for us to do some great work here. And in future, you may not be asking that question because that may be something that we already do. So we'll take that on board as more as feedback than a question, because it's something that we're going to look at.
Great. Does anyone else on the panel want to answer that question? No? Great. Thank you. I think you've covered the answer for everyone. You've answered it for everyone. Okay, the next question we have from live stream is, during an arrest, if a deaf person is arrested, how can they be empowered to let you know that they are deaf and to communicate with you if their hands are in cuffs? So that's probably a question for our police officers.
Would you like me to take that one? So depending on the circumstances, usually we would get an opportunity before the handcuffing stage to understand that somebody is deaf. And as those videos showed us, if you can make contact with the police, eye contact with the police member or the PSO first, let them know that you are deaf. And if the circumstances allow us to, there may be a possibility that we don't handcuff you so you can communicate with your hands. Reasons that we may decide to handcuff you are for your safety, or for our safety if you're very aggressive, or if we think there's a risk that you might try to escape. So those are the reasons that we would handcuff. It would be dependent on the situation. So each situation would be assessed on the person. If you're remaining calm with us and you can explain that you're deaf and you need your hands, and we might need to write notes backwards and forwards with you as well, then it may be that we make the decision not to handcuff, dependent on the person and their level of compliance with us.
Great. We have a question here from the floor, if you'd like to come up and ask the question. Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to? Yeah.
In the video, it said if you had a TTY to call or to dial 106. We've never had a TTY, so how would you call if you were deaf with like a mobile phone? Is it just 000, or is it 106, or is it a different number altogether?
You can still call 000. just as normal, yes.
But if they can't talk, like if they're deaf, how would that go?
Might be a better place to answer that.
I think someone from our audience would like to answer it.
So if I could just add myself, it's a really interesting timing because recently the Victorian government have engaged consultants to do an exploration into 000 and how deaf and hard of hearing people can access 000 in times of need. Technology is rapidly changing and you can still use TTYs, but the number of TTY users are decreasing because so many more people have mobile phones. So the government are now researching the best way to provide deaf and hard of hearing people with options to access 000 within different situations and different technologies. So in the next couple of years, I think we'll see some great outcomes for the deaf community and more ease in accessing 000. But you're right, with National Relay Service, you can use them to text, to use the internet on the mobile, video relay. So there are different options available using the National Relay Service as well. Are there any other questions from the floor? There's a lot of people who are sharing comments about Auslan and a lot of people who are saying that it would be great for first responders, emergency services to learn Auslan to allow for ease of communication with the deaf community. So it's great to see that support from the community. There's a question that someone has asked. Victoria Police is large, there are many different teams and there are different stations. Is there any particular person or team who are knowledgeable around Auslan and know how to engage with the deaf community?
Well, our members have lots of different skills, so you know we mirror the community in lots of ways. But at the moment, we haven't got an online list of people that you could contact, and maybe that's something for us to look at. We're also working with Scope Australia on using one of our police stations as best practice in terms of accessibility and communication, and we're going to look to see how we can roll that across the whole state. We've got 21 divisions in our state, and we would like to see at least one police station in each division have the capacity to be, you know, best practice in terms of accessibility and communication.
Fantastic. I think there are a lot of comments that are coming through the live stream that we can read through later. A lot of positive comments and support from the deaf community and from the public as well. So not just within Victoria, but across Australia and also internationally. So it's great to see us leading the way. Just conscious of time, we might start wrapping up. But before I do, I'll ask for a final comment from everyone on the panel, if you have a final comment, before we then wrap up, before showing the last video. So maybe we'll start with you, Commander.
Thank you. It's good to hold the microphone, isn't it? Look, all I'd say is Victoria Police is proud to serve the community, and with the police for everyone. And you know, when we talk about the deaf and talk with and work with the deaf community, we want you to hold us accountable to what we're doing. If you're not happy with our service, talk to us about it. We want to improve it. We want to make it accessible to everyone. So please, you know, the partnership with Expression Deaf is so important, but so is the feedback from the community. So please keep it coming.
I'll echo what Commander Bateson said as well, but I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be here, for the work that you've done on these videos for the people who are involved. I think it's fantastic. I look forward to working more with Expression Australia. I think what the work that you do here is incredible. And I'll also just throw in a little fact that you might not know about our protective services officers, is that they also work on the trains and on the trams. So keep a lookout for them, and just be aware if you're travelling on the trams or the trains and you see them, There's might not be necessarily something happening. They're just there to keep you safe. So keep an eye out for them, and don't be afraid to come and say hello. They're very friendly people, and if you need their help, come up and say hello. Let them know that you may be deaf or hard of hearing, and let them know how you best communicate, whether it's by writing down notes or by gestures. And if it's something more serious, whether we need to get you an interpreter, but we're there to help you and we'd love to help you. So please come and say hi. Even if there's nothing wrong, we'd love you to come and say hello.
Wow, thank you. I would love to see our Expression Australia as well as Victoria Police continue this partnership. I think it's been really wonderful and such a great opportunity, and something that's really for me been wonderful to see, and to see the access that is the deaf community are being afforded. And it's not that we don't expect the police force to know exactly how to sign everything, but to have basic communication skills and to put each other at ease. So I think that's fantastic. I agree. I've worked in video productions and worked on this video for a long time, and generally organisations will give us information they want translated, and they want a video of Auslan, of their information, but this experience was so different. It was a true partnership between us and Victoria Police, and there was a lot of back and forth and a lot of conversation to ensure that these videos were worthwhile for both the deaf community and the police force, to ensure that they were truly valuable. And as you can see tonight, there's information for how to communicate with deaf people and for deaf people, but also cultural information for the Victoria Police. So it's a great resource, but it needs to be seen. So please tell your friends and your family. If you know of a police member in your family, prompt them to watch it, and tell your family and friends to watch it and share it. There's no point of these videos being produced without sharing them, because by sharing them, we learn from each other. Thank you all so much. You can go back to your seats if you like. Thank you. And thank you very much. Great. So we'll wrap up now. There is one more video that we will show at the end, and that will be done as the closing video. And this is a video that Tony is involved in, and he might be up to a bit of mischief in this one. Like I said, it has been a massive long journey for the last couple of years, but we've got there, we're here now, and we can finally show the community the series of videos. And it's a start of a great partnership to build confidence of the police force and how to interact with the deaf community, but also confidence for the deaf community in approaching police officers. Expression Australia are a not-for-profit organisation, but we are completely, entirely committed to working with key partners like Victoria Police. We have a relationship with Emergency Management Victoria, and we have interpreters regularly on screen in times of crisis there. So it's great to be able to provide the Victorian deaf and hard of hearing community of information in times of fire or terrorism, to provide information that is accessible to us in our first language. This project is a great opportunity and a great example of how we can work with key government agencies within Victoria and Australia to provide access to the deaf community. I would also like to acknowledge there have been multiple people involved: Maxine, Sasha, Tony, the actors, the filming people, the lighting crew, the list goes on. But I would like to especially acknowledge two people that I worked closely with over the last 2 years: Michelle and Danielle. Remember our first conversation where we were talking about it? It was just a small blip on the radar. It was a small idea that we thought we could test with the deaf community. So we did a focus group, and from that, it turned into this. And I'd like to acknowledge your commitment in the partnership, your patience throughout the journey. And we are here today. I'd like to thank the other crew from Victoria Police. There are so many of you here tonight, and it's fantastic that we've had this opportunity to engage with each of you at different stages through the project. We are keen and committed to train the Victorian Police Force in Auslan, and how and what that looks like is something we'll work out. And like Sasha said, it is a fantastic resource, but we don't want it to remain hidden on the online. We want it to get out there. So those of you sharing on live stream, share it, and we will share it through our networks at a national level and within Victoria as well. It's great to lead by example. So thank you everyone tonight. Thank you for you watching at home. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to continue sharing them because we'll answer them through the next few days. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your night. And thank you to our tech team who are organising the live stream, the captioner, the interpreters. Thank you so much. Good night. Great. So there's still some food, and we'll probably have a couple of photos with whoever should be in these photos with Expression Australia and Victoria Police. Be nice to get together and have a group shot. And we'll do that perhaps up on the stage. So after the photo, we will watch the 4th video, and you can watch it while mingling and feel free to leave when you need to. Thank you.